Okay, so welcome everyone to the next session. In this session, we'll learn how we assemble a robot arm. So usually when you buy a robot arm, industrial robot arm, you can get with it some 3D models of its parts. Now, some robot arms, you can get the whole robot arm, the 3D model of the whole robot arm. But for others, or for the majority, you get actually only the parts. So today we'll learn how we can assemble this part to recreate the 3D model of robot arm, and also how we can add an armature to the robot arm, which means basically we can add animation to the robot arm and we can control it with Blender. Now I uploaded on Moodle the project files, which basically they are STL files, which is basically one of the formats that is used for 3D modeling and also for 3D printing. So what you need to start is with imports, and we have here STL file format. As I said, I have uploaded these files to our model. So we have session 3 that I would like to start with, and we have the robot arm parts, and these are basically they are the parts of robot arm that we will use today. So I would like to start with the base always. So we always know that the base, but before base, I want to take this file, and you also should do that because this is the assembly. So this is basically that I have created before, and you need to use it as a reference so we can see how we can assemble a robot arm because you don't have the robot arm with you. So we can start with assembly, and I want to import this assembly. And now we can see that we have got the robot arm here. The first thing I would like to do is to rotate it, of course, so because it's not a correct position, so I would like to put R for rotation, and I want to rotate around the x-axis with 90 degree, then press enter. Yeah, then maybe if we bring it down, so, and I want also to put it on the side a bit because this is what we will look at while designing or assembling our robot arm. So this robot arm now actually is a solid body, which means that it's like one object. It has no joints or armature, so you cannot animate this actually, but we use it only as a reference. Okay, so what I want to start with is to import the first part, which is the base, which actually this one, and we can see that it is imported at the center here because the 3D cursor is at the center. And again, I want to rotate this with 90, no sorry, R, then X, then 90. Now we have it here. So this 3D or these parts or 3D parts, basically they are designed with Autodesk Inventor. So I designed them with Autodesk Inventor because the robot arm we have actually didn't have any 3D parts at all. So you can see the difference directly if I go to the edit mode. So if I click over this object and I go to the edit mode, you can see that it's really highly detailed, which means we have a lot of mesh, a lot of vertices basically, and many triangles you can see that are describing the mesh. So if you are designing that with Blender, it would be less detailed, but and maybe also less accurate than comparing to Autodesk Inventor. As I said previous lecture, if you are designing 3D parts, it's better to use either Autodesk Inventor or SolidWorks, for example, that are dedicated to design mechanical parts. But you can also do it with Blender. There are also many tutorials online how to design mechanical part with Blender, but I think, yeah, I believe it's harder than Inventor and the others. So this is basically the first part, okay, and we have it here. We want now to import the first link, which is basically this here, this plate basically that would rotate around the base. Okay, so this is should be called, if you go to import STL, then it should be called link 1. Yeah, and I have just moved it up like this. We can see it is the first servo motor that is attached to the first link, and the role of this link is to rotate around the z-axis and around basically that link here, or the base. Now what I want to do here is to attach, of course, this one to this one, or link one to the base. And what I want to make sure first that the center of that circle here is aligned with the center of that circle. And yeah, we need basically to position it correctly, of course. Now, I told you before about the use cases of the 3D cursor, and now we'll see another use case, which is basically it's very helpful here, the 3D cursor, to do this attachment or to do the assembly of these two parts. So yeah, let's first select the base. Okay, now I can see that the center of that base is here, and yeah, I want basically to have a reference point there, right? Because here where I want to attach that to. So if I go to the edit mode, I want to find, let's first move this a bit away so you can see what we are doing. So basically what I want to do first is to select the vertices that basically are that belong, let's say, to the upper circle here, or they are aligned on the upper circle here. So let's go to the top view here. So let's click over the axis and click somewhere away, and yeah, let's use the box selection, and I want to select these vertices basically that belong, as I said, to the upper circle. I just want to make sure that I didn't select any other vertices. No, I didn't. Good. So what I want to do now is to bring that 3D cursor to the center of this circle. So Shift S basically for the snap that I talked about before, and now we have different options. Again, Shift S, which you can see it down and this green key indicator, and I want to bring the cursor to selected. So the cursor to selected, which means it will bring the cursor to the circle, and the circle, this circle has a reference, which is it's basically in here is the center of that circle. So if I do that, we can see that we have brought the that 3D cursor to the center of this circle. Now the first thing you would do, just to have a reference here, go again to the object mode, which, as I said, you can switch between them easily using just using the tab key here. And basically now I can add their reference. So Shift add to add something, and here we need basically to add an empty, so we have an empty plane axis. So if I do that, we can see that we have kind of 3D axes. This is basically what is called the empty plane axis. You can scale it so you can see it more. If I press S, then I just move my mouse like this. I can scale this reference to see it. So now we have a reference axis here that I can use. Now the next move is actually I need to go here now. I want to select this one because the next is basically to have a reference point here. Right, so let me look there first. If we actually look at this arm here, if we go to and then I just want to make sure that So we have this space you can see there. Okay, so we have this space between the two joints. So we need to select actually this circle, not this circle. We need to take the center of this circle, and then I want to snap, or basically move this link, snap it over that link, while making sure that basically that the center here, or the reference here, basically align or is the same point as the center of that circle. So as I said, I need to select this one now, and if we go to the Y, that should be fine. So we go to the Y view and click tab for edit mode, click somewhere outside. So this is a circle that I want to play with, right? Okay, no, we need to actually, why it doesn't work, because I want to select these vertices, and it's a bit hard to do that if I am the Y-axis, because I would see only this face. So for that, the circle selection is useful. So you need to click C for the circle selection, and you can make these circles big. Basically, you can increase or decrease the radius of the circle. So I'm just decreasing it to that side, and then you can click and move, and while you are moving you are selecting these vertices. Then just press escape so you can rotate, and then maybe circle here. Just want to select this as well, and escape to just change it a bit. And I'm having a problem in moving it around. I don't know why. I don't know if you see that, or if you're actually experiencing the same issue. So circle. Now skip. Okay, so that should be fine now. I think we have selected all the vertices. Now what we want to do next is to snap again the 3D cursor to the center of that circle. So Shift S, cursor to selected. We can see that it is a center. Just to make sure, let's go to the Y view again and look. Yeah, it is at the center. That's good. Then we go Shift S. Oh no, sorry, Shift Add to add now an empty. Now you need to go first to the object mode, sorry. Then Shift Add an empty plane axis. Okay, for some reason I think I have moved the cursor away. Okay, now it is here. Shift Add empty plane. Then we can scale it a bit like this. Now there's something else, or basically not else, but the next thing that we need to do is that if I click over this object, we can see the origin basically of that object, or it's not the center of mass really, it's more like the origin of that object, which means if I want to move this object, I can move it from that origin. So this is basically the anchor point of that object. And I want to change this anchor point to that location, because the idea is that if I want to move this object, I want to move it from that point, which applies basically on the snap, because the next step is a snap, or the next action is a snap action, where I want to snap the whole object to a point, and this point is basically that point, is the center, or that center of the axis. So if I want to snap also, the snap is basically the point that would be snapped to that location is the center of that object, or the origin of that object. So the next step is to change the origin of this, and I want to basically to change the origin to the 3D cursor. So if I click here over object, and then we have this, set origin, and the set origin basically is we have origin to geometry, geometry to origin. So origin to geometry basically this would be more like the center of mass, so it would basically the center of mass of the object, and it will set that as origin. But what I want to do is origin to 3D cursor, which means it would move the origin of that object to the position of the 3D cursor, which is actually located now at the center of this circle. So if I do that, you can see that these 3D axes that I can use to move this object, now they are at the center of the circle, which was here because I was in that location. Okay, so this is now I can, the next step is I can snap, but before that let's just rotate it to the correct rotation. So I want to press R, then I want to rotate around the x-axis again with not 90 in my case, minus 90. Then then you can, so why this 3D axis that we have, or empty axis that we have created, are useful? Because now I can click over it, then Shift S, and I can bring the cursor to that directly without going again to the edit mode and then selecting the vertices and so on. So now I have this 3D axis, I can just click over it, then Shift S, and I can move the cursor to that selected directly. Because now next step I would click here and Shift S again, and now selected to cursor, not cursor to selected, which is basically it is selection to cursor, this one. And I click here, you can see it actually was snapped directly, and now it looks good. So basically this is a correct position. Okay, now just to have it like the 3D model, we might need to rotate it around the z-axis, and we can see that the base actually of that servo motor should be facing us here. So I want to press R, Z, not 90, then it's minus 90, and click. So now it looks better. Okay, so now we have the second part. And I want to now add the next link. So file, import STL. Now it should be link number 2. Yeah, so we can see that this is the next link, which is this one here. Okay, and we can see basically that it should be aligned or assembled in this way, which means that the inner face of that circle should actually be snapped to the outer face of the servo motor here. Now just remember, here we are not basically considering any axes or any screwed basically drivers or so on, basically to attach or snap this together. We are just snapping them like we see here, so without considering any axes, as I said. And then with the armature actually we can do the animation. So just to, if you are wondering how actually, so it's not a physical I would say assembly, because you would see here that you have actually an empty space first of all there, and there is no axis that is basically connecting that, because here it's only connected by this side or on this side, but here it's free. Actually in reality it's not free, you have an axis here as well, and we have joint here as well. Okay, so what I want to do now is to select then this one, Then I want to go to the edit mode. What I want to do is actually to select the outer circle there, and then take the or move the basically the 3D cursor to its center, then have a reference axis there. Then I would do here again, I want to select the circle there, take its center, then basically move that or snap that to that location. Okay, I also for this axis I want to move its origin to that point, so if I want to snap it, I am snapping it from that location as well. So this is a bit tricky because it's from inside, and if you look closer there, you can see that we have vertices here and vertices there, and I want to select the outer vertices. So if I click, so this is basically the vertices that I want to select. Let's do that and select these because now it becomes easier, and I don't think it will be an issue there. Alright, so take another rotation. Wait, then yeah. So now Shift S, cursor to select it. Then we go to the object mode, Shift add empty line axis. Okay, now we have the reference. Now the next point is to move the origin, or the next step to move the origin of that object again to the 3D cursor. Now here we can go to object mode, set origin, origin to 3D cursor, because now if I can move this object from here, and now the next step of course is to have the reference there. So we go to edit, we need to select now either this circle or that circle. Okay, if we go here maybe to change to, okay, so now we are in perspective. No, that's better. And let's select then let me make sure if, yeah, that's not good because sometimes we have selected vertices of the basically the base surface here, but I want to have only that circle there. So we need to click away again, and I need to do selection again. So new. let's take this. Okay. Okay. Shift S, cursor to select it, then go to object mode, shift add into blend. Now next step is to click over this shift S selection to cursor. Now we are there. Perfect. Okay, so we have added the second joint. Right, so I will add now the third one. Or actually now at the fourth one if you consider the base, and the next would be a part of your project. So basically that will be of course used to evaluate your work. So what I would to do now is to add the next link, and the rest would be as I said, the homework, and of course this homework would be considered in your final mark. So I would now start with the next one. Of course the deadline, as I said, is end of February, so you have time. So we have now to add link 3. No, this is not the one. We need to also no. So we need now the second servo motor. I think I have to select the servo motor then. Right. Okay, so now we have the second servo motor, which we see it here, this one. And yeah, I want to snap it basically to that surface, to here, to the surface there. So we need to select the inner circle of that object. So I'm just going to the edit mode. Now it's a bit tricky here. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Shift S, cursor selected. Shift S. Okay, no. Because we have selected So I have another way of doing it. Just try to, yeah, I hope it would work basically. To make it, yeah, have a good projection. Then if I select this circle, this circle, this circle, and this circle, then the center would be here, the center of these 4 circles basically. But yeah, I'm wondering if that is easier or not, or if I select this point and this point and this point only and this point, then you can see actually, so yeah, if you click here over the 3D move, when you select, you can see basically the center of your selections. So if I select this one, then of course for one point this is be the center. If I select here, then this is the center of these 2 points, then this is the third, this is the fourth. But as you can see, it's not a good selection yet. Now I'm taking the box selection, but still selecting from inside and from outside. So let's take only this. Yeah, now it's correct. So I selected this point and this point. Then Shift S, cursor to selected. Then I want to move actually the origin to that point. Object origin, now origin to 3D cursor. Okay, so this is finished. Then no, actually, this one we want to snap it here. So actually, I want to add here an empty axis so I can use them. And then here, that is basically, let me check the orientation. So we need to rotate it first. So this should be top. So rotate basically around y, minus 90. And then we need to rotate it around the z-axis with 180. Yeah, now it looks correct. And we need to snap this. So basically I have to go and select this one. I'm not sure if this is actually the correct servo motor. Okay, it is the correct one. Yeah, there is one part seems to be missing, that is connecting these two together, which is basically Okay, this one here, but never mind, so we can connect without it. So yeah, let's now to select basically this circle, and let's do the same trick as the one we did before, because it seems to be much easier if we can find this anchor point, this one. Then we need to move to checking if it's correct. Seems to be correct. Then we go to Shift S, cursor to selected, then go to object mode, then object, set origin to 3D cursor. Then we select this back, and we need to move the 3D cursor again to there. So cursor to selected, then this one, Shift S, selection to cursor. There we go. Right. Okay, so the next, as I said, is to you as a homework. So the next actually would be this one that should be snapped over that surface. Then you have this, the next servo motor. Then you would have this one, and then you'd have the end effector, or basically the clipper. Okay. Thank you. So the next session we'll talk about the armature, so which is how we can add an armature to the robot arm. For that I will use an assembled robot arm, and we'll see how we can add an armature. Thank you.